Okay, so I am Dr. Kim Godwin. I am with MTSU Online. I am one of the instructional designers, and with me monitoring the chat today is Tara Perrin, the other MTSU Online instructional designer. And so we are going to talk to you a little bit about groups today, how those work in D2L, what some of the differences are in those settings, and the ways that we are going to use those within our classes. Before I get too far into that, I did want to go over a couple of upcoming workshops in case you all did not know about them. The first couple being this one, obviously, we're already here. We are continuing our MTSU Online ID drop-ins throughout the month of September. There was one this morning at 9, and then there will be one next week on Wednesday, and then again on the 23rd on Wednesday at 9 a.m. And then Tara will be doing hers on the 15th and the 29th also at 9 a.m. So that is every other week on Tuesday, and the alternate weeks on Wednesdays, all of those at 9 a.m. And then there is also an upcoming presentation by Lane Bryant next week on awards, D2L awards, and how those work and the benefits of those within your D2L classroom. There are quite a few faculty book groups coming up too. I think a lot of those are probably already full, but you can get on some waiting lists if you are interested in those. And then I believe Lando Carter is doing one on the 17th about reflective writing and how those can be effective in your classrooms. So make sure that you are checking out the faculty development for online instruction calendar that's on the Stay On course page. It has lots of updates and more things are coming all the time. So check that out. That Stay On course page also has some archived presentations that we've done in the past, and then also this summer, as well as a ton of resources for you as your semester gets rolling, especially if you run into something new and different. There may be a resource either in the presentations or within the basics or beyond basics information that is there. And if there is not something and you need it, let Sheila know, let Tara, I know, and we will see what we can do to find it or create it or make that happen in your life. So let us know if there are some things that you need, and we'll see what we can do to help you out. A lot of the presentations we've done this summer and as we're starting the fall are at direct request of things that faculty have had questions about or things you've had issues with. So we really want to continue providing those services for you as we can. So I am going to go ahead and get started and share my screen with y'all and go through a little PowerPoint presentation that we will send out later. We also have a cheat sheet that we will send out later that's like a couple page document on how to do groups. But I'm going to go through a little bit of a PowerPoint with you and talk a little bit, and then I'm going to go into my D2L and show you how to set it up. If you would like to, during the time that I am setting up a group, you are welcome to minimize our little Zoom screen and turn on your D2L if you would like to and walk through it with us. We are more than happy to have you listen to us in the background while you are working along with us so that you can practice at the same time, so that if you have questions, you know what those are while you're doing it and can ask us in the chat. And again, if you have questions as we go, please feel free to comment in the chat. Tara is awesome at keeping up with that and answering questions, and I will try to keep an eye on it periodically as well. So here we go. Okay, so this is about using groups in D2L and how do I do that? So some questions that we plan to answer today. Where are groups in D2L? Why are there so many types, and what does each one mean? Because if you've ever gone in there and looked, there's like a chunk of them that you have to pick from, and you may not know what all those differences are. So that is a lot of what we're going to talk about today, is the differences of those groups and what each one means, so that you're not having to try to figure that out as you go. And then what type of group do you want? And so to think about that, I want you to start thinking about a class that you are in presently, one of the ones that you're teaching that you're thinking about using groups. I want you to think about the purpose of that group. Why are you using that group? Is that because you have 150 people in your class, which is a lot in an online or remote class, but some of you have that. So is it to make your discussion boards a little bit more manageable for your students as well as you? Is that for group projects and presentations? What is the purpose of your group? What is it that you want to use it for? How do you want that in your class? And then how many groups are needed? And how many learners do you want per group? So again, thinking about that in terms of, is this for a group presentation that they're going to be doing? Do you want 5 people in your group? Do you want 3 in your group? Or is it for a larger discussion board that you're breaking your class up for that to be manageable for your students and it be more like 10 or 15 people in a group? So, you know, what is it that you need the group for? And then how many do you need and how many people do you want in them? And do you want the students enrolled or do you want to self-enroll? Do you want to have D2L do the enrolling for you? Do you want to do some manual enrolling? Those are really the key questions as to what you're going to want to think about with groups. So if you can kind of think about those 3 things as we're going through this, that's going to help you know what you want to create when it comes time to practice. So I'm going to run through these and then we're going to talk about them again when we're looking at it in D2L. So the first group for manual enrollment is the number of groups with no auto enrollment. And what that does is when you create the number of groups, you select how many learners go into that group. You choose which students go into that group, and it gives you a lot more control. One of the things about that is that it is a little bit more time consuming and you have to update it if someone drops a class or adds to the class later. So it does create a little bit more control for you, but that also creates an extra step of responsibility for you as you are going through the process. It's not a huge responsibility, so don't worry too much about that. But that is really especially helpful if you have a class that you know several of the students in the class. Maybe they live together, maybe they work together, maybe they're in the same student organization together, and you want to break them up so that they're not all in the same group and are getting more of a diversity perspective from other students in the class, then you're going to want to probably go in and manually put them into classes that they're not all in there together. I know when I was in school that I loved to be in groups with my friends and with people that I lived with so that it made group work a little bit easier for me. But now that I'm a couple of minutes older, I am much more aware of some of the lack of perspective that I would have gotten from that. That if you're with all the same people all the time, you don't get as many perspectives from other students that may have different experiences from you or look different from you or have grown up differently from you. So there's definitely some benefits in doing that. Groups of number, it can be manual or auto enroll. And this creates the minimum number of groups that you need. And the groups are set by a size. This is best to use when you know exactly how many users you want in a group. So say that you want 5 in a group. It doesn't matter to you how many groups you have. It's that you don't want your groups to be greater than 3 or 5 or whatever it is that you want your group size to be. That is the test with that one. You can manually add them yourself, or the system can randomly or do it automatically through the alphabet. And you can also enable the auto enroll feature on that one. And when all groups are full, new learners would be added to a new group. So if you had a set number and then a couple students added to the class late, it would actually create a new group to put those individuals in instead of trying to put them into a group that was already in existence. And that is really kind of a helpful way to do that. We recommend it just because then you're not having to go back and kind of force enroll people after the fact. So number of groups. So that creates numbers, the numbers of groups that you want. This is best when you know how many of the groups that you actually want, and you want the system to place the learner into each group. This one helps you, well, it kind of explains it on their screen there, doesn't it? The way that it sets it with auto enroll, which is what we recommend, is it actually randomly goes through and places the students into the groups. And so this is really helpful if it doesn't matter to you who's in what groups, how they end up in that group. And it's more important that you have a set number of groups than the people in them. So if you are looking at having 8 different group projects around 8 major concepts within your class, then you would set up 8 groups. So you would have total number of 8. And then you could auto enroll or manual enroll, but you could auto enroll and it would just go through and divide your students up into those 8 groups evenly. So self-enrollment, that is one of the other areas, and we added some fun little graphics for you on this one so that we could kind of explain to you what those look like. So within self-enrollment, when you're thinking about the groups of number, that is when the students would self-enroll themselves. And once a group is full, a student cannot select to go into that group. So if you have set your groups at 3, when the first one is full, no more students can self-enroll into that group. It's set at 3. So you wouldn't accidentally end up with one that had 15 and one that had 2. So that one kind of helps with that, the way that that system is set up. The number of groups is, it creates the number of groups and you specify and can result in uneven learner distribution. And if you're okay with that, that's fine. So if you are looking at that in terms of concepts or topics within the class, and it's more broken down by, you have some, you know, say you're like in an art class and you have people that are into sculpture and you have people that are into paint and you have people that are into charcoal and you have people that are into oil pastels. Looking at those, allowing the students to group into the one that is their area of interest or concentration allows them to be in that focus area. Now that can lead to, if you have 15 students that are into paint, and then you might have a group that has 15, but you only have 3 that are into charcoals, then you have a group that's 3. So it really depends on what it is that you want to use that group for and why you're using that group. It may work great to have 15 people that are focused on one medium and 3 that are focused on another. But that again goes back to that initial thought of what is it that you want to use your groups for and why are they using them. And then one more is number of groups and capacity of number. And that can create the number of groups as well as set a maximum on any one of them. So say that it's a similar process of I'm going to have this many groups and then I'm only going to have this set number of people in those groups. And that would allow students to self-select into areas and it not end up as lopsided, because then you wouldn't have one that was 15 and another one that was 3. So single user. Single user is really specific for when you just want to have one person in that group and allow them to continue a conversation with you or continue submitting reflections or journaling or something like that in a private discussion board or a private Dropbox that would have information ongoing throughout the semester or for a set group of time. This can be really helpful, again, with reflections or journaling, or if you're working with something like a capstone project or an individual assignment that's more of an ongoing semester assignment. That, terribly sorry, they have something to say. So that would really work more for students if they were doing something throughout the entire semester, that you wanted to keep it private and not have other people see it. And that is the end of my slideshow presentation, right? That's great for a slideshow. Yay, short slideshows. So I now want to go into my D2L a little bit and talk to you. Hang on just one second. Sorry. Okay, so before I talk to you about how to actually create the group in your class, I wanted to kind of talk just a little bit about some other ways that you could use groups within your classes. We talked a little bit about that you could use it in discussion board, you can use it for reflections, you could use it for long-term projects, you could use it for group presentations. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can use it. One additional way you might want to consider doing it is within large enrollment classes. This might also be a way that you can create an opportunity for students within discussion to take a little bit of ownership in the direction that their discussion goes. You can, throughout the semester, assign different people within that group to be the moderator or the leader of that discussion. And that does a couple of things. One, it gives that student an opportunity to go out and kind of do a little bit of research before it's their turn to be the moderator about an article or a video or something that they've found or something that they've gathered through research that they can post and start that discussion and then lead the conversation with their group. So that helps them with information literacy and you know, finding that information and processing that and helping their classmates process that. It's also a great opportunity for critical thinking and application of information and creating a little bit of a leadership role for them. And it gives you an opportunity to kind of to take it to the next level within some of your classes. A lot of you probably have course objectives that say something about critically thinking, but not really what that means. So that is a way that you could easily tie back to that objective in your class without you having to be the one that does all of the work. Obviously, you still need to be in there. You still need to be engaging with it. And you'll be able to assess it that way, but that does also create that chance for students to kind of step up and show you that they are engaging in that information and the different content from your class is processing for them and they're able to get that back. And that really does a lot within the community of inquiry and them creating connections with you and with the content and with their peers. And it also really does help when you're scaffolding your information and kind of looking at how we learn and how we build on our learning. The more that we're able to take our own experiences and the own information we have and apply that, the greater depth of knowledge that we get from the content that's being presented, and we can grow in ourselves and continue to build forward to our next level of learning. So those are just kind of a couple things. And if we have some time at the end, we might talk about some other ways that we can use groups within our classes and really build that community to help our students. So I am now going to show y'all about groups and how we set those up. So I am in one of my development shells. One of the things to know about groups is that you can also hide them. So if you are in an active class, you can create them in your class and just not assign people to them. So don't set auto enrollments if you're not ready to use them. You may also want to consider going into a closed class or seeing about getting a development shell if you do not have one that you can practice in. But here's how we do it. So you go to communication and then you go to groups. If in your class you have restructured your nav bar and groups is not, you don't have the communication drop down or groups is not one-on-ones across the top, you can also get there through edit course. So those are a couple of different ways you can get there. But for this one, we're going to go to groups. And I have one test in there that is just sitting there very empty. But we're going to create from step one, how do we create a group? So we're going to go to new category. and we are going to create a group. So whatever you name your group, know that that is for you, and you're going to know what that means. So if you're going to have different types of groups within a class, be pretty specific about what you name your group. So if you're going to have group presentations, and you're going to have discussion groups, and you're going to have reflective journaling for private groups, make sure that you're actually labeling it that way, so that when you go in later, if you have to monitor anything or make any changes, you are able to go into the one that's very specific. Group 1 doesn't really help you a whole lot. So you're going to want to be specific as to what it is that you're using them for. Obviously, I'm not going to get as into that for this one. So here, and you can add yourself a little bit of description here about what your group is about. So here are those enrollment types that we were just talking about. So number of groups, no auto enrollment, is the one that you manually go in and you assign your students. Groups of number is the one where you go in and you set, I want groups of 4 or 5. The one that's number of groups is when you say, I want 10 groups. The groups of number, self-enroll, is the one where it's the, I want groups of 4, and I'm going to allow the students to self-enroll. Number of groups, self-enroll, is I'm going to have 10 groups, and I'm going to allow the students to self-enroll. That's where they could end up kind of lopsided. So you could end up with one that has 15 and one that has 3. Number of groups and capacity of groups. I'm going to have 10 groups, but I'm going to set the capacity at 7. That may mean that I have some that have 7 and I have some that have 2 or 3, but I'm not going to end up with one that has 30 and one that has 1. And then single user member specific group. And those are the ones that are more for like a semester long reflecting or journaling kind of activity. So I am going to use the number of groups, no auto enrollment. That's how I'm going to set up my first one. So my number of groups for this class, I am setting up 10 groups. So I'm not going to have any restrictions in mine. My group prefix is going to be project. And then in advanced properties, there are some things in here that on some of the choices that the cheat sheet that we're going to give you will give you a little bit more specific information about these. But the only option that I have right here is make the group descriptions visible to the group members. This is up to you whether or not you want to add that. So for the purposes of this group, I am actually going to set up both a discussion and a Dropbox. Now, one of the things about this is actually a little bit easier with groups if you set up new ones when you are setting up groups instead of trying to go in and assign ones that you already have. It's just a little bit of less work for you. It's just a little bit less topic for you. So it is just a little bit easier, just so you know, if you set them up as you're setting up the group. So I don't want to use any of the forums that I already have. I am really going to set up a brand new one. So you click on new forum, you title what you want your forum to be. You can add your description information here, or you can go back and add that later. And then I am choosing to create new topics. It tells you a little bit in here, and our cheat sheet that we're going to send you will tell you just a little bit more about it. But I am choosing to create new topics with mine. And what that does is that it will actually create 10 different topics within my forum, one for each group. And then I want to set up Dropboxes for them as well. And it will also set up 10 individual Dropboxes for all of my groups. And then I hit save. And then this is where you get to have a slightly different question. It automates to create one topic with threads separated by group. And that is just, it keeps it's a little more condensed for you when it's like that, because it creates there's one topic that all of the groups are underneath it with threads. One thing to note on that is that you need to make sure that the must post first is turned off for this one for the groups to work correctly. Or you can create one topic per group, and then each group has a restricting topic, and then they can have all of their threads within that topic. So that's one that you just need to kind of play with that one just a little bit to figure out which way makes the best sense to you. So I'm going to create one topic with threads separated by group. Now you'll notice here that we can actually add more topics if we wanted to. So for this one, I'm going to have one topic and then have my groups individually discuss that topic within the class. If it was one of those examples of I had 8, or in this case 10 different categories that I wanted them to discuss. So say I was a history faculty member and there's 10 different topics that I want them to cover throughout the semester, and they're going to discuss them ongoing, you know, large concepts. And as we discuss different historical perspectives and different historical events, how are those impacting different groups of people or different areas of life or different things like that, that I had them divided into groups, then they would be discussing those. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create next. And then my Dropbox. And then you would put your Dropbox instructions in here, or you could add an attachment or record an audio or a video for additional instructions if you would like. So this one is a little bit of an important piece of information right here. It needs to be that it is a group assignment. When that happens, they submit it into the group assignment and you grade it as a group, not as individuals. So that's an important point. And then right here for the file submission, I know we talked about this a little bit in my last presentation about video note, but I also wanted to bring it up again here. For this one, you are probably going to want a file submission because they're going to be uploading something to you. If by chance they're not going to be uploading a file, like if they're going to have a Zoom breakout room, or they're going to set up their own Zoom and they're going to do a group presentation, but you don't actually want the PowerPoint that they use or whatever document like that, you may want to consider using text submission. If you use text submission, people are not required to add a file in order for things to submit. And I know that's a little off the wall, but it's one that we've kind of run into recently. So the big difference with that is file, you are required to add a file in order for it to submit in D2L. Text, the student can type into one of these dialog boxes, just like your instruction box, and just submit that. So if they're submitting e-portfolio or a link to something, or they're doing a video note, text submission is really all you need in order for that to happen. So that's just something to think about as you're planning these things. So I'm going to do a file submission. I'm going to allow it to be unlimited, though you can set that to 1 file per submission, which means that the one that they submit is the only one that they submit. It is their final presentation, and that is it. I'm choosing for all my submissions to be kept. Do not need a notification email because that gets sent to me and I don't want that. And then if you have a category that this is attached to within your Dropboxes, you would attach your category here. You can go ahead and add your grade information here. And I don't have a grade item, so you could add a new grade item, or you can always attach that later. Rubrics go in at the same time as they normally would, and then your decisions about whether or not you want it to be eligible for the e-portfolio. So I'm going to go ahead and create this because I want to show you what happens in your class. Okay, so there we have it. There is our group. So we have 10 projects for our group. And if we go back and we look at that in our discussions, it is right here. It is my very bottom one, and it shows that I will have 10 threads within my one group discussion. Now the threads are locked to the group, but there's one, so you would only put in one instruction set for that topic. This would be your topic discussion, but your students would be able to communicate with each other in groups of like 5, 10, 15, depending on the size of your class, but you would have that for you all in one location that you would be able to see what was going on within that group discussion. The difference would be, yes.
Can you enlarge this particular screen a little bit, like make it a little bit bigger? Is it possible?
Yep.
Thank you.
Is that better? Is that a little bit better?
I think it's a little bit better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Our screens kind of make things small. So yes, within that, so this one, as students start posting, they will have their individual threads based on their group instead of having one really big discussion forum of 150 people talking at one time. Because that can get a little overwhelming. And those of you that have large enrollment classes already know that. That can get a little bit overwhelming for the student, and it's hard for them to create connections with their classmates when there are that many people on a discussion forum. So really limiting that and allowing them to have those conversations amongst themselves is really helpful. So that is what that discussion would look like. We'll go look at the Dropbox so I can show you what the Dropbox looks like. So this is my Dropbox. It is set to have a group right here. And when we click on it, it should show us my restrictions and what that looks like. Oh, it doesn't. Just kidding. I'm sure y'all have never clicked on the wrong button ever when you were doing something in D2L. That's never happened to anybody. But that is what that looks like when, I bet it's the submissions one. Yeah, this is where it will show up if we had submissions. It would show up right here, and it would have all 10 of our group assignments within there, and it would have their group submissions available. So I'm gonna actually go in and set up one more group for y'all so that I can show you some of the other options and what those could look like. So I'm gonna create a new category. I hope that y'all are able to practice this a little bit with me so that it is making some sense. And I am going to do groups of number. I'm going to have 5 people. There actually happen to be people in this class. So a whole bunch of online faculty mentors are about to get assigned to a group. So if one of you is an online faculty mentor, you do not have an assignment due. This is so I am opting to auto enroll new users. Because remember earlier I mentioned that depending on which one you select, you may have different advanced properties. I am going to auto enroll new users. I'm going to randomize users in groups. And then I am again going to set up discussion, and I'm going to set up Dropbox. And this time, I am going to, I'm going to create it so it is the different, it's the different submission types so that y'all can see the differences. And this time I want to create one topic per group. And then I want to create a second. Okay. So that now sets up. our second set of groups. And I said that there were people in this class, there may not be, and that's where that impacts it. So now we have a second set of groups, and our group is available for me to go in and look at what our drop boxes did and what our discussions did. So we now have 2 that are in our LT and ITC, which was an excellent example of me telling you not to name things the same thing because it creates confusion for you. So make sure that you do a better job of naming than I did. But this would be the second group because it showed up below it. And it would, if we had actual groups in this one and we had something that people had submitted, you would actually see it breaking up between the information for the different groups. And then within our discussions, this one is different because I set it up as groups and because my groups weren't, I did the topics. Once I set up my topics, they'll start showing up here. So that's the big difference, is that because I did topics with threads, I didn't create my topics, and I have to have topics in order for the groups to be assigned. So I hope that makes some sense into what those differences are. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and turn off my screen share.
Before you turn it off, really quickly, can you just show how you delete a group?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So for groups, to delete a group, you would simply go into your groups page. And these are my categories. So you would select the one that you want to delete. This is my LT and ITC one that I just created. I don't like this one. I want to redo it completely. I click on the little box. I click the trash can. It asks me if I'm sure I want to do it. It's a good thing about D2L is it sure does ask you a lot if you're sure you want to delete something, so you don't accidentally delete something really important. I do want to delete this. And that group is now gone. So if you look at my drop-down menu, you can see that my group is gone. So if I wanted to recreate it, I would have to create a new group again. But it is that simple to delete a group. If you have groups that are broken out, you can also go in and delete individual groups. But while I'm here, I didn't think about talking to y'all about this, but this is how you would enroll a user. So I'm going to go to my sample group presentation that has the groups broken out. And this is how I enroll users. Is you click the arrow to the right of the group name, you click on enroll users. So if you are automatically enrolling, this is how you would go about doing it. Or if you were enrolling people in your class, this is how you would go about doing it. And I had, yeah, there aren't any students in my class. So, but this is, if you had students would show up here, and you would literally the same way that these little check boxes are checked on here, you would go in and select the individual students that you wanted to enroll in each group. And it shows up the same way as your class list does, but it's just a line of students, and you go in and you just manually click the ones that you want to have in each individual group.
So if you were going to let your students do a presentation after they've gotten together as small groups, how would they make whatever they've come up with available to the rest of the class?
So that would, in essence, be up to you, which I write horrible response, Kim, thanks. So one way I would encourage that is to have them do a Zoom presentation, especially if they're remote, online, hybrid, or web assistant. Allow them to do a Zoom presentation that you can set those up for them so that you are the one that gets the shared recording, because you set it to record to the cloud, and then you would get the link. And then once that happens, you can post them either in a discussion forum, or you can post them into your content as the information for them to go view. The great thing about doing it in a discussion is that you could set it up in your discussion and allow students to view the presentation and then comment in the discussion or ask questions in the discussion. and the group that actually did the presentation would be responsible for responding to student questions within the discussion forum. If you have a remote or web assisted and your class is therefore synchronous, you could actually allow them to do that Zoom presentation live at real time and have students engaging with them in real time. But for an asynchronous class, it would need to be recorded and then mounted someplace else in the class. So either in content or discussion would allow all of the other students to see it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Do we have any other questions before I stop the screen share and we open it up to questions and conversations?
The only question that I haven't been able to get to yet is about, can we archive groups?
Can we archive groups?
Yeah.
Meaning?
I'm not sure.
I'm not.
Meaning, sorry, it's Lise Raven. I'm the one that asked the question.
Okay.
And meaning, is it possible that rather than deleting a group, we archive it, the students no longer have access to it, but we do? Or do we just disenroll the students? For instance, if there was something interesting that happened in the group and I wanted to save it to use as a demonstration or save it for later, can we archive them in any way?
Well, I mean, if it's in one of your old classes, you can always just go back to that semester and take a look at it. And it wouldn't, because the students won't unenroll when the class archives. They're still there. So you would still have access to it from a previous semester. But depending on the activity, I mean, you can always lock the activity so that the students cannot continue
That's a great question, a great answer.
Or behaving in it. you could lock it so that they cannot continue to go in, but it's more activity than group that you put the dates on.
How can we lock it?
How do you lock an activity? Let me see if I have a discussion that we can put a date on. Sure. So the easiest way to do that is to edit the topic. And then under restrictions, you can lock, unlock, lock, and unlock for specific date ranges that would allow for activity to occur within that for that date range. You can also put an end date on things. End date tends to make it no longer visible. So, but you don't need end and lock at the same time. So one or the other would work, but locking is a way to prevent further use of an activity. What other questions does anybody have? Were there any others, Tara, that were specific or not specific to groups? Because y'all got us. What else do y'all got?
I think you've addressed it. I think you or I, either one, have addressed everything, especially since you just talked about start and end dates.
Okay.
So I don't think there's any outstanding questions. Of course, I know our Zoom group will let me know if I'm wrong, but I think I've gotten all of them. But please feel free to jump out there and ask questions.
Okay. As I think there's a couple things going on in the chat. And Tara, if something pops up, just let me know. Otherwise, we can have a little bit of a conversation about other ways that you can use groups. I didn't know if any of you had used them in any of your classes that you wanted to share how you would use them, or ways that you had found some success with them. I know we've mentioned a couple of ways that you can use them in your classes, specifically if you have large enrollments, breaking down your discussion board so they're not quite so overwhelming for your students, creating group projects. It also is great for within the discussions, allowing those activities that I mentioned in terms of students being the ones that monitor and getting a little bit more ownership in that. You can also set that up so that students, even if you don't have a large enrollment class, but that students pick a week or a discussion forum or a topic that they're the ones that they go in and post the initial discussion. Those are really great if you are working with, if you have a 5,000 level student in a 4,000 level class, maybe having them be in charge of a couple of those discussions and putting them in charge of a group or of a specific topic within a strand. If you have a GTA or a TA that you want to have more involved, you can assign them to certain groups as well. It's also great for higher level classes like master's and doctorate classes as well, in ways that you can set up activities and things that are specific to if you have doctoral students in your class as well as master's students, and you have activities that you want the doctoral students to do, you can actually set that up so that they are in a group and that only their activities show up differently. Those also impact how they show up in your grade book, because you can assign grades to be restricted to groups only. And that's really helpful if you have multi-level in a class of like undergraduate and graduate or master's and doctorate, within setting that up in terms of how you can restrict that so it doesn't mess up your grade book. So those are just a couple of ways. Does anybody else have something that they might have used groups for, or if there was something in particular that you were hoping we were going to talk about today that we didn't? Please feel free to unmute and ask us, or you can ask in the chat. Or if Tara, if you have any other items that you've thought of or ones that I missed that you'd like to add. And it's okay if nobody does.
I don't think, I have to be honest, Dr. Godwin, I was typing so much, I was kind of sort of listening.
It's okay.
So, and I know you were talking about topics. I particularly think the groups tool is great for topic selecting. If you have topics for students and say you have 10 topics for students to choose from and you don't want everybody to choose the same topic, it's really great to set up groups specifically for students to pick their topics.
Yes, and that gives them a little bit more ownership in their own learning too. So it kind of creates an active learning environment. You're still kind of directing where they're going to go and some of the major themes that they're going to cover, but they get a little bit more choice in what it is that they're going to cover and how they're going to cover it. Students really like that.
Plus, if you set the capacity of number, you don't get 15 papers about one topic and 2 papers about another.
Right. Right, which makes it more interesting for you.
Could we look at the student view and see how a student would self-enroll? Or did you do one? Did we do a self-enrollment?
Can you, hey, Dr. Godwin, can you log in as your fake student in this class? And I see it, and were any of them self-enrollment or were they all auto?
One was self.
Well, the auto-enroll would be fine. Okay, so what would a student see if it's auto-enrolled when a student got to the, I guess the student would go to the discussion board.
You know, we actually have a little document that we created on what that looks like. So we should totally send that out with with the information that we send to Sheila. This is not my class that has fake students in it. So, and I don't think it, I don't know. I don't think I did it. Was this one self-enroll or auto? Yep. So there you go. So that one let me in. So these are, and I think it's because I'm not a real student, and so it's letting me see it from the view of a student. But the way that is what it looks like when they go to do some self-enrolling. They go to groups. And they can click on that the one that they want to be in.
Okay, and it would show it full. Yeah, I want to know the instructions to give my students.
Yeah, and we have a really, really great, I didn't even think about the fact I should have done it in the other class that has fake students so that I could show y'all what it looks like when we enroll. But we do have a document that we actually, that Tanya Dowd in our, in MTSU Online created for some student services. So we will send that to Sheila for her to be able to send out with the group's cheat sheet and the PowerPoint for today, and make sure that y'all get that as everybody that was enrolled in this, everybody that registered for this will get that as well. And it is a step-by-step, this is how to do it from the student's perspective.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Sure.
Hi, Brian Elliott, Theater Department. How do I get a fake D2L class to play with like you're doing right now?
Oh, it is, let's see if it's across the top here. It is this the one. And if Scott, I saw Scott was in here earlier. Sorry, Scott, I just told everybody how to do this. MTSU, and it's AIT/D2L/form/index, and I will put that in the chat. But one of the options on the FITSE Forms index page, so you can always just search for that, is request a D2L development course. And that's what those are that you saw me playing around in. But I will.
That's just a development course. So as soon as I get one of those, then I just have a shell that has no students. And
yep, it doesn't have anything in it. It's completely blank. So those are great for if you're trying to figure out how to set up groups, or if you're wanting to mess around with how different tools work, but you don't want to accidentally enable it and cause panic amongst your students. Those are a great place.
awesome. And I could actually, yeah, and I could actually copy over components from one of my actual classes.
Yes.
And excellent. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so very welcome.
I went ahead and put the link in chat as well.
Oh, I did too. Now it's in there twice. So yeah, I do encourage that if y'all are looking to play with some stuff in D2L and figure out how it works, it's a safe way to do it without creating extra anxiety on your part or a student's part. What other questions does anybody have? We got about 5 minutes left before our session's over, so we're happy to answer any of those questions. Okay. Well, if nobody has any additional questions, I am going to.
I have a quick question. I was trying to type it, but at least Raven, is there some, aside from the usual one, is there some kind of cheat sheet for best practices for student-led discussions, other than the ones that we use for our discussion boards, something like that? Or can we kind of, I know, isn't it University of Florida that has the magic information for how to do everything with grace and good manners?
I think I know. Are you asking for like a best practices and discussion, or like a?
Yeah, for student-led discussions. So if we assign a leader to a group, I mean, I can dig around and find them or make them up. I just meant if we assigned a leader to a group, is there some sort of, these are best practices for being a leader in a group discussion area? That would help.
You know what? I don't know if we have something that's like a super cute, easy, like one-page little, these are your top 10 tips for helping be a student leader in a discussion. But I can look around and see if we've got one.
Thanks.
And if not, that's probably something we should consider making happen in life. So yeah, no, I'll look into that though and see if we have one. Lane may have something. Lane Bryant, so I will check with her because she talks a lot about discussions and has student moderators sometimes in her classes. So she may have something that we can borrow. And if so, then I'll make sure that we get that sent out to y'all too and get it on the website. So yeah, other questions that anybody has? That was a great one. Thank you. Okay, I am gonna go ahead and stop our recording and our screen sharing.